Do you season your eggs?
Like boiled eggs? Oh,
No,
just
like do you
regular
put
scrambled
like
egg? Yeah, I
yeah? Do
do.
you put? Yeah, me too.
I season it. I season it like in the beginning. Like so, like when I put in a cup
Mm.
and I whisk it all together, and then I throw in some like Old Bay, some
Mhm.
garlic powder, maybe a few other things, and I just mix it all together and I.
Yeah, people have. I've been seeing things online, like folks acting like it's like this girl said if you offer to make me some eggs and I see you about to pull out seasonings, I'm cool. Like black people have been saying that they
You
don't
want some
like their
plain
eggs.
eggs?
Yeah, I'm like that's nasty.
Not even
Like
no salt and pepper.
yeah, like my bottom, like the just the bare minimum is gonna have garlic powder, onion powder,
Right,
salt, and pepper.
for sure.
Like that's
And
sometimes I go without the salt just because I'm trying to be healthy and I'm eating bacon or something next to it that's gonna give me that saltiness. But
yeah,
yeah, but I put seasoned salt.
I'm not
I have
really.
not done Old Bays before. That
Yeah,
sounds good.
yeah. I'm not really an egg person though. I only eat like scrambled eggs with cheese. I don't
Mm.
like eating just like eggs with no
I
cheese. I'll
wish I
eat
could.
boiled.
I'd put a cheese in it if I could, but
Oh yeah, I eat boiled
I'm
eggs
lactose.
though. I eat
Oh,
boiled eggs. I do the same thing. I put a little salt on it, and then some hot sauce, and then eat
that
it.
sounds good.
Yeah. Sometimes
Mm,
just have a
might
little
have to
piece of
try that.
cheese with it. Yeah, it's real nice. Which one is this?
Um. Uh.
Oh, outside your religion. Dating outside your
Yeah,
religion.
religion. Yeah, dating outside.
All right, we're good. Welcome to Consequences of Our Culture podcast. I'm Randall,
I'm Stephanie.
and today we will be talking about dating outside your religion. Would you do it? Can you do it? You know, pros and cons.
Yeah.
All right. So, Steph, have you had any experience of dating outside your religion?
Not really. Let me think. Like legit dating outside my religion, like dating somebody who's Muslim or
Right.
something like that. No. I think I did date a guy once that oh yeah, he didn't I don't think he believed in anything. He was just kind of like
Right.
just
We just
just
exist.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't I think or it was like a complicated answer of as a lot of people these days are they
Right.
just it's complicated, they kind of believe in a higher power maybe, but not really sure and maybe all the religions are correct and whatever, that kind of thing. But typically I've always dated somebody who is at least like believes in the God of the Bible, like because
Hmm.
I'm a Christian. I believe in the God of the Bible. I believe in Jesus Christ. He died for our sins, the whole thing. And in the past, I've just dated people who just kind of that's how they grew up. So that's what they like their core belief is, and that's like their when they have to say choose a religion, they'll say Christian. But as far as how they walk it out and stuff. Yeah, maybe they didn't really always go to church, things like that.
Hmm.
But definitely believed. I don't think I don't think it's possible for me to date somebody outside of my religion. And specifically, not even these days, I can't even just say outside of my religion. I feel like there's like subgroups within Christianity too
There are
of
denominations.
yeah, different denominations and then just like different ways of how people choose to walk out their faith of walk out Christianity is different from mine. And I just feel like if you plan to have family, children and stuff like that, it gets complicated, and maybe it's not for others, but to me, you know for one, the Bible says you got to be equally yoked. So there's that for me.
Yep.
But also, I just don't see me being like, well, okay, every like Wednesday, Sunday, I'm going to church, going to Bible study, and I'm like, yeah, the kids we going, and you're
Yeah.
not like a part of it. You're not praying for me,
Right.
covering me spiritually.
Yeah. Also, like, there's
It's
levels. Like
yeah, yeah.
or you can't be halfway in your faith.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta
You
be.
got to be kind of all or nothing for me. So it's yeah, I don't know. Have you ever dated outside of your religion?
I can say once I remember everyone I dated generally not necessarily saying they were Baptist or whatever. And like, you know, if this makes sense, I feel like I'm more Christian than Baptist, you know?
Yeah.
Like just a general Christian thing. But there's this one girl and she was Muslim, but she grew up Muslim, but she wasn't necessarily practicing. And she of course she wasn't a Christian. Her beliefs were kind of uncertain, not necessarily.
Yeah.
She not didn't necessarily focus on that. She did believe in God, but yeah, and that was like that was like one of the things. So she had like a couple of things that made me like, not pursue any further. And, that was one of the things. Like I always like thought like, so if she was like, if she, if like Muslim, her being, Muslim was the only thing, then maybe. But now like how strong I am in my faith, I would want someone who's there with me, is equally as strong in my faith.
Yeah.
Not even like I wouldn't even want like a halfway Christian.
Yeah.
I would want like, the whole thing. Someone who I could go to church with, someone I could talk about the Bible with.
Yeah.
Someone like, who just like wants to be as close to God as I do. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's something though, and some people like make it work. Like I know there's a lot of people who are Jewish and they like marry Christians, and there's I don't know there's a lot of people that mix things up, but
Yeah.
I can say like me and my fiance, I'm like. We're both Christian and we're both believe in God, but the denomination I grew up with is Baptist, and hers is Methodist, which is not necessarily the same denomination, but we're kind of like on the same track. Like it's not a different religion.
Yeah, like you don't. It's
like
not the fundamentals of it. Like
right,
the
exactly.
core belief of Jesus Christ being.
Yeah,
the
like
way
most people couldn't even
there.
tell you the difference between like Methodist and Baptist.
Yeah, I used to go to a Methodist church when
So
I first
the-
moved to
yeah,
Atlanta.
so-
I didn't even know it was Methodist for
Exactly.
the first couple of months. Honestly, had no idea. I thought it was non-denominational,
Right,
because
exactly.
they're very similar. So.
And I can also say like since I joined the army and ever since after that, because like so when I was in the army we moved around. I was in different places.
Yeah.
So when I found the church home, I always went to a non-denominational church. It was I feel like they were on the rise. It was easier to find them than to like a Baptist church. Like I feel like a lot of churches were just like, oh, we're non-denomination. So they got like a big group, and and to this day I go to a semi non-denomination church. They might be something else, but I didn't notice. Just like you, I was like, I think like it was this year. They were saying like we started off as a something or another, and I was like, wait. I was like, you guys aren't non-denominational. They've been going here for a couple of years. I was like, but it's as long as we're all Christian and the message is getting across.
Like, do we believe in the Bible? That's for me. That's it.
Right.
Long as,
right. If the Bible's the word, we're not cutting out anything.
Yeah,
stuff
we're not
like
looking
that.
at a whole nother book. We good.
Right. If you're not bringing out another book next to this and say, oh, this runs
Right.
parallel with this.
Right.
I was like, whoa, hold
Like,
on now. I was like, one book's enough.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's that's something a big deal, because like especially now my faith is so strong. Like my kids and my fiance could be a testament to this, but like whenever, like when these, I don't know, like I'll get like a check in the mail I wasn't expecting from like the other day, like I got a check from Colorado and it says like, oh, we had like missing money and this was owed to you.
I love
And it was
those
like,
moments.
close to $1,000. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Like,
You know,
Jesus.
like, who else could it be?
Who else?
You know, like someone finds money, they're not giving it to you.
Right.
So I was like, praise God, you know? So every time, man. And
I'm waiting on my check to come to mail. Like,
my life has been like that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times. Like,
yeah.
it was a time, like, I was going through the divorce, and, like, our tax return was messed up because, like, you know, how we filed and stuff like that. Now we're divorced, and it's a problem. So, and then she's trying to claim the kids, and I got the kids. So it's this whole debacle. And like I was like, yeah, you probably not gonna get a tax return this year. And then like in the middle, I went to like a restaurant. I want to say it was Old Chicago in Fort Collins, and I was about to get something to eat, and I was checking my bank to see, you know, what I'm gonna get. Like, what's my limitations today?
Yeah.
And like, man, that tax return hit. Like they found me the winning party. I was like, boy. I was like,
Oh man.
bring it
Yeah.
out. You
Yeah,
feel me?
right.
Like, whole spread. I was like, come on. So yeah, no, it's I feel like all these things, and people would be like, oh, well, that's just stuff happening to you. I feel like all these things are attributed to how strong like my faith in God is. And I have to have a spouse that's equally as strong in faith in that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And but we saw the dating show, and there was this there was something, and there was this girl, and everyone popped their balloon when she said, did she say she didn't believe in God, or she's
Yes, from off of, on the Pop the Balloon show. Yes. The version with I forgot her
Arlette.
name. Yeah, Arlette Mooney or something.
the goat?
Yes, the original, the one that we love. Yeah,
Right.
gotta make sure we let them
OG.
know that that's the
Yeah.
one that we like. Not them other ones, the ratchet ones. But anyway, yes, on that show, yeah, was popped on by everyone. I think because she didn't believe in anything, or she was more. I think she was like agnostic, like. She doesn't
Right.
necessarily believe,
Right.
but she's like, she's comfortable, like she's okay if that's what you believe, and like she doesn't, go out of her way to like, I don't know, something like that. I can't remember, but anyway, she didn't believe in anything, and they were like, and that's a great example there with like, of people like. They're not really, they may have all been Christians, right? All of them believed in something. And even though they may not have been like going to church every Sunday, because a lot of those guys were not like super churchy. And some of them had eliminated themselves with other women because the woman was saying how really how important, like she wanted a man of God, somebody who has a relationship with God, who goes to church, like super, into it. And a lot of them actually popped on her. But this girl, they were like, you got to have something. You got to have some type of, faith
Right.
in a higher power, And so yeah, that was crazy. I mean, you
Yeah.
get it on both sides too on that
But
show.
you were saying like, why does it matter if they're not like super religious?
Oh yes, I did say that. Yeah, and I stand by that. To me, if you're not super religious, if you're the type that is like, yeah, I believe that there's a God, but I don't go to church, not necessarily read my Bible and things like that. Like, I don't really care about that kind of stuff. Like, just believe in, I believe in something, but you're not like communicating with that thing that you say you believe in. You're not moving your life, like running, what is it? Like, you're not running your life around that faith. You're just kind of out here and you're doing your thing. I don't see what the point is. I'm like, them, if y'all are cool, y'all both get along well, then
Yeah, but
be with them. Because what I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not very religious, then why does it matter if the
I
other
don't know.
person
I
is
feel
also
like
not religious,
you might
you
not
know?
be very religious, but you are religious. You know.
Yeah.
So like, if a
Or
person's not
spiritual, that's what everybody says now.
religious at all,
Spiritual.
we just can't make it work. Cause like, even though, I'm, let's say I'm that person, even though I'm not reading the Bible or I'm not going to church, I'm not necessarily practicing my faith, I still have a little bit of Christian in me. I still believe in God, and you don't have any. So I don't think it's gonna work.
But also, God said you can't be lukewarm. There's worse.
That's true.
It's worse to be in the middle. And that's
Yeah.
what a lot of these folks are, is that they're lukewarm.
That is true.
And then looking at this person, because they're not, because they all the way over on this side of not believing. And it's like, go ahead and be happy, king, queen. Like, it's like, go ahead and do that. Because you're not like, what is it like, because I feel like for me, it's the everyday things, that like, and of how our life, it's not just that, oh, you don't believe, but also the way that that I run, the way I move through the world. Everything comes through the lens of Christianity. So if you are not, so if every day you get up and say, you don't pray, you don't want to pray with me, you don't want to go to church with me, But if this person who says that, yes, they believe, but they don't do any of those things, that's where I'm like, then what's the point? There's nothing in he or she is not like messing up your day-to-day life or your routine, because what you do every day, you get up and you just go. You go do your stuff, but you don't pray. Yeah. You don't read your Bible. You don't go to church. So what are they doing that's going to harm your your faith,
Yeah, I get it.
It's like, you might as well just go on.
But what if
I get it. I shouldn't judge.
What if I'm just waiting to get my life together? What if I get my life together?
Oh yeah. What if one day you come back to Christ right. And now she going
and
go.
You're not even here.
Right.
You don't even leave.
Hey, as I had a friend who said one time, when I said like that, I don't date outside of my religion. And she said, but you don't. She said, well, you could be blocking God's blessing for you, because it could be that, which I think, yes. I don't know if your frown is also what I'm thinking. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make
exactly.
sense.
But
you gotta be equally yoked.
I was like, are we reading the same Bible, girl? Right. Like, it's just not gonna work. But like, but she felt like, you could be the one that leads them to Christ. That could happen. But I'm gonna need God to show me that that's what it, like. There would have to be. Yeah, we would be friends probably. Right, yeah, I would not like immediately be like, oh yeah, I like, he's cute. We vibe. Yeah, I'm gonna date him. I know he's not a Christian, but I'm gonna date him in hopes that one day I rub off on him enough that he will come to Christ. Like,
by the time they're my significant other, we should both be on the same page.
Right
now, like, it is possible to like be friends, like bring someone who's outside the church, bring them into church, build that bond with them, that friendship with them. They get that spark, they start, participating in the choir, then they start being an usher, that stuff. They, we bring them in.
Right.
Now we fully yoked. Now
we can start a relationship. Yeah.
We weren't yoked before.
But just right off the bat, nah.
But now we the full egg. We're fully yoked. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I totally, I don't know what's up with your friend. I totally.
I don't.
Yeah, get that.
I don't know either.
Yeah, no.
But
it's so. In your experience, is it hard finding a good Christian man?
Yes. And it's been very hard to find someone who just the simple, like for me, just the basic like thing of, do you go to church? Like, and this is where I have to probably pray and see if this is something that I'm need to even bother like having as a criteria or whatever. But for me, like if you're not already like in a church, like you're not already going to church. Not that you got to be there every Sunday. If you have, we all have our days.
Right.
We have our days where we might skip here and there, whatever. But like if we, if you're not going to church already, like I don't even like, cause I run into so many men that like either they don't really believe, they're not super religious is what they say, so they don't really like go to church, or you know um they're like, yeah, I was raised in a Christian household, so like, I like it as a good, base level, like a good way to like start out life or whatever, but I don't, they don't really follow it, or good whatever. But then there's some too that are like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I feel like I don't need to go to church because to be able to hear from God or to have a relationship with God. Like it's a personal relationship, so I don't go to church. And but when and then the more you talk to them, because at first I'm like, okay, I get that, sure, maybe that's your thing. I have family members that are like that, but they're still very much, you talk to them, that while they may not go to church, you can tell they're in their word. And it's like, then I get to know them a little bit more, and you can tell they don't even read their Bible. They say like, oh, I don't go to church because I have my own personal relationship, and and I read my
Right.
Bible every day, and I pray every day. And then, but you get to talking with them, and you find out their fruit, is not reflecting that.
Right.
So yeah, it's been very hard to find a Christian man that like somebody who's just believes in the same thing as me and goes to church. Like,
Yeah, I could imagine today's climate. There's a lot of quasi Christians.
yeah,
There's a lot of people that's halfway in, halfway out. There's another type. There's a lot of people faking the funk. You know what I'm saying? Like they got like a couple Bible verses memorized, and they could like say, "Oh, this is Deuteronomy something or another and stuff," but that's that's about all they
right,
know.
right.
Like
They got it tatted on their arm or
Yeah.
something. That's right. The
Yeah.
only verse they know.
I feel like the real testament is like, well, the real test is like seeing what they do, for like 4 straight Sundays.
Yeah,
Like they miss like if they go to church one out of those 4 Sundays, that's good. But
Yep.
like if they just like if they don't even mention church, after the first 4 Sundays and they don't go. And it's not saying you're not a Christian if you like don't go to church. That's not what I'm saying. Because, there's times that I don't go to church, but I do go to church every so often. And I might have missed 4 Sundays in a row, but I do make an attempt to go
yeah,
at some point. But yeah, just seeing if they even mention church or going to church or have any plans of going to church. And yeah, and I'm not like a zealot or anything. I'm not like
yeah.
but to the point that I'm crazy. But I just like I'm strong in my faith, and like I know what I want. And some people can be cool with not dating, with not necessarily with settling,
Yeah.
but I'm not, and I feel
Same.
like anyone who's strong in their faith shouldn't be.
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes. I mean, it's like, um, you know, you look around, and this actually just recently I had to kind of, what is it? Put like, I guess my flesh and put it in check. Like, cause I had these feelings like, of seeing like other people, other friends or people online, and they're like out here just, seem like they're thriving in their relationships, or, finding somebody and getting married, or, actually, yeah, and you too, you fall into this category, folks that, haven't like have that relationship and then getting married and getting engaged and things like that. And it's like, and I'm still single. And it's like, sometimes it does start to feel like maybe I do need to just settle. Like, maybe, which I like, no, not doing that. Cause I think I tried that one time with the previous relationship. And I think that lasted like 6 months. I couldn't do it. I'm not good at settling. But you start to get to your 30s and you're seeing everybody else around you, in relationships, getting married, having families and stuff. And it's just like, and you start to think like, well, maybe my standards are way up here, and maybe I do need to
Right.
start dating somebody who's not in my religion. Like maybe this is, maybe there's not any more like single Christians that are like me, or maybe I'm too Christian, like maybe I need to like just be with somebody who's, they believe. They may not want to go to church or whatever, but, they believe in something or whatever, and that could be okay. It's fine. But, and I think those moments come maybe once a month. Like it sounds weird, but it's truly like maybe once or twice a month once or twice out of the month that I have like a thought like that. But majority of the time I'm pretty headstrong with my path and what I believe in. But yeah, it's like, and I think so many other people, they have settled.
Yeah.
And and that's what they do. They're like, you know what, I like the thought of being alone is just so unbearable for some people that
Yeah.
they're like,
That's true.
I'll just, I'll take this. This is, and you start to think also that that's all that's out there. You think that maybe there just aren't any more Christian men. Like maybe they're all already taken, or they hadn't been born yet, And it's like, in my generation, in the group, in my age group that I can date in, there ain't no more. And so it's like, you know what? Maybe I need to just settle for what's left, but, fortunately, I was going to say unfortunately, but no, fortunately, I can't do that. It's not, I'd rather be by myself than in a relationship that's not right, and
With a heathen. Yeah.
I want to say that.
Isn't
I
that
wanna-
what?
Want to
what's
call
the
them a
definition of
heathen? I don't know. It's
feel
just
like
what
it's
we've
someone
said in the
who
church
doesn't
forever.
have a
Yeah,
relationship.
heathen means somebody who's like a sinner. They just
Okay.
they don't
I thought it was-
they
okay.
out here in the streets. They're not
Yeah.
not like, they don't go to church or whatever.
A
But
heathen.
I hate calling folks that. I like calling them non-believers. I feel like that's better because I feel like I could be a heathen too. Is like. I could be, you could from the outside looking in, and you could see, oh, she go to church, she be singing on the choir, like she's so
That's
holy. But then you don't know what I might be doing behind closed doors. I could be a heathen. So I like to just say,
That's true.
non-believers, the Gentiles.
Any possibilities at your church?
Not at all. I go to a church that is very old. They're all either old or very young. Like it's a lot of kids and older people, families, it is a majority white church as well. But honestly, I don't think the majority white part is even the issue. Like at
Right.
least if there's somebody my age, but it's because I went to an all black church before this one, and there wasn't nobody in there either because it's hard to, nobody goes to church. So I don't think I'm going to meet anybody. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe I will one day, but
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if my husband was at my church. Like, I think I'm probably going to meet him somewhere random, maybe traveling somewhere. I don't think he lives in I don't think he even lives here.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah.
This is a
But that's a conversation for
place.
another day.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that does it. Like,
Yeah.
is it okay to date outside your religion? That's up to you. That depends.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be equally yoked. If you don't want that yolk, don't crack that egg,
What?
You feel me? So, yep.
Okay.
All right. I'm Randall,
I'm Stephanie.
and have a great day.
Bye.